Welcome to the zone where geeks collide, where comics and heroes come alive. Marvel, DC, Starfleet in the mix. Lightsabers flash, we're nerding out quick. Rican's the name of the show. Dive into the worlds you already know. From the big screens to the comic store. Super stories and so much more.
What's up, mi gente? We back. Of course, Lou is on a book tour, at least what I'm told. Something like that, something to do with polls and some of this. I don't know. But he's out there. What's up, Lou? We'll see you soon.
We miss you, kinda.
Sorta. But you know what? It's been a hell of a, I'm going to say a hell of a month, to say the least, with so many great things happening in the world of film, in the world of comics. I mean, we're going to try and cover most. We're not going to cover it all, but we're going to try to cover most. And I'm going to start it off with, and I got to say it, I loved it from the moment that I started watching it, Predator Badlands. I mean,
Good.
Original in its intent and what it brought to the story, to
Yes.
the Yautja, but with a little bit of, and I'm going to say it from my own perspective, heart. Because we all know the Predators are what they are. They go out and they go after prey. They're pretty much just, they're like the game hunter. They go for the game because that is their ritual. But what about them do we know about outside of that ritual?
Well, the ritual is like the 300. Remember, they would send them out. They had to complete that ritual to be considered either a part of their group and or as an adult member.
Right. But at the same time, it's like, you don't know, say, like, do these people, as far as their family structure is concerned, you know, how they are. Like, there's your mother, you got a father, then there's a child. Is there love? Is there loyalty? Is there understanding? Or is it, you know, it's like, it could go any way. And then they brought it to full circle. I mean, they can be quite cutthroat, to say the least.
Yes.
And I'm not sugarcoating that in any way whatsoever. So, but in essence, it told a very compelling, great story of the Yautja who had to prove himself. Because, you know, we always look at and just to give an example.
Also, by the way, maybe potential spoilers.
Yeah, so
we're not going to try to go into all of it, but just in case.
La. Or go 1 year and whatever how you do
the moment you heard Badlands, you should have been like,
So if at any time you hear like, that's a spoiler that's bound to happen, then, you know, we're just covering it up to save you the fun of watching it. But either way, when you have a litter of dogs and it has a litter, there's always that one that's considered the runt of them all. But that's the one that has the most to prove. It always winds up that way. The smallest one has the most to prove, and 9 times out of 10, he's the one ruling all the others at that same time.
I was going to say, usually the runts are sometimes like almost always.
Almost always, yeah.
If not the strongest personalities amongst that group.
So in this essence, you got one strong personality in this Yautja, and he's considered the runner. That's all I'm going to give you. But I'm going to tell you something. He's also one that learns and adapts. And that's what makes him dangerous. They didn't see that, but as we're watching it, I'm going, yo, don't count him out. Don't count him out. He proves himself very much so, and he learns a very valuable lesson of family. And that's the one thing that was like that.
I might fight you on that. I don't think he needed to learn that. There was something else in regards to that. I can't even say it without actually spoiling 100%. But
right. So let's put it this way. He, in the beginning of it, was dead set as far as traditions of the Yautja come from. Okay? And then along his journey, he learned that as far as the traditions are concerned, there are room for interpretations. And he was given an example, and he realized, hey, this is true. And then eventually adapted. But I think it was for the better for him, because if you stuck to one way of thinking, you know, 9 times out of 10, evolution doesn't happen. You don't really learn. You don't really grow. But when he took something that was given to him and adapted to that and saw it from his perspective, he grew from it.
I think we have two different perspectives on this movie. Similar in certain things. I've read more comics than you have. So that I went into this already knowing certain things about Yautja culture and stuff like that, which again, not 100% canon, but it is stuff that people have leaned on in regards to certain things. I think this movie did bridge a big gap that was missing from a lot of the storylines that you didn't see on screen and stuff that I've read in the comics that I was always very intrigued by. Because I remember I turned to you at one point during the movie and I was just like, in the opening scene when his brother is protecting him. And I was like, see, I said this. I was like, I knew that there was more going on in like their intricacies of their as a people and family dynamics. Because you see some of it in the comics, but not a lot of it. And it's more hinted at than it is actually explicitly shown. So I always had this idea that children were supposed to be like their highest, like, what do you call it, thing that they could own or whatever, just their progeny, they're continuing the lineage, which is why they're so focused on the honor of the kill as well as expunging anything that they view as lesser than, and that was where the whole
weakness is not something that's
what they view, and but this is also what the movie goes into. What I got from the movie versus what you got is the not that he had to learn the thing about family, but that weakness is a personal viewing. It's not something that is inherent. So like someone might view you as weak or see you as weak because you're small, whatever. I've had that happen to me. You know, I'm a woman or whatever, but then turns out I'm not as weak as people think I am because I'm not on their perception of weak. I'm on mine.
Exactly.
And my perception of weak is not that. So he went thinking he was weak because of that's the way that they were. But turns out, no. He had to learn himself that he wasn't, or he didn't have to view himself as weak anymore.
So in essence and flavors of movies, you get a little bit of 300. For me, as far as honor is concerned, because they do possess a strong
code of honor.
I
almost said code of ethics. No, they don't.
Code of ethics?
No, they don't.
But code of honor, I would look at them as Klingons. In a way. They have rituals. Some of it is based on honor. Or if not, Bushido. I can look at that as well because honor is different in their cultures. But each one have a certain similar.
We're going by fictional cultures?
Well, if you go fictional cultures, I'm going Klingon because even though they're fictional characters, but their code of honor, how they view what, revenge or what is honorable, what's a coward, what's not a coward. I get a little bit of that and I go, because I've watched The Next Generation so many times, and I love Worf, how he holds on to tradition, but at the same time, he holds on to two different values because he was raised by humans, as well as learning his culture as a Klingon. So he clings on to those Klingon cultures of honor and everything, but also his human side, because even though he's full Klingon, he was raised by humans. So that ideology, and Russian no less, I mean, he knows his vodka, no offense, but still, he has those values, and you see that there. So when I look at the Yautja and I look at this scenes that are happening as far as trying to understand what's going on, I say, you're this, but I say, no, put aside them hunting, put aside all of that, because that's something that's part of their rituals. Now let's look at them as people, or excuse me, just as who they are personally. Living beings, exactly. The brother defending his little brother against another Yautja for the fact that he's a runt, as he called it, and underestimated him. The Yautja who then went on his journey, but also at the same time opened his mind up to other things. I mean, things that no other Yautja would have done. It's like, we hunt, that's it. And then all of a sudden, he's embracing ideas.
I think Alien vs. Predator, as much as I don't like a lot of what happened in those movies, shows you that the Yautja are willing to step out and try different things and or accept different things. Remember the human girl? He worked with her to do that, marked her as one of their own. So, and
Danny Glover, when they gave him the gun.
Yeah, so there's been, and that's actual Predator movies. So, okay, that was So there's been instances where we've seen that. Yeah, it's not because a lot of people think that they're just like here to just attack and kill for no reason. Like, no, they have a very specific goal. They want to find the strongest fighter to fight and prove themselves, and then bring back as a souvenir, essentially, to prove their worth as a warrior. Then they get their place in the clan, and now they're officially Yautja. So yeah, there has been proof that they are willing to change, like adapt and or do certain things. But what we didn't know is, like you said, like going into their family practices and stuff, and I'm trying to think of like what the word is, but like how do they have empathy? Do they, are they able to put aside their viewpoints for certain things to see it differently? That's something we've never really seen before. We did see that in this movie,
yes, which
I thought was phenomenal. Also, like the weapons and the things that, also including the whole Weyland-Yutani alien connection was very, very. I don't want to say it was like overwhelming, but it was very subtle. Yeah,
very subtle.
Like if you know what's going on and you know Weyland-Yutani, you know all these whatever, then you're like cool. But if you didn't know any of the alien connection and you went into this movie without knowing any of the backstory, you'd have been like, oh, what is this? And then you realize like, oh, it's these two different.
But that's the good thing of a great story. It's like if you walk into a franchise, let's say this is the first time you watch this.
This is a great introduction.
And you watch this and you say, damn, this is good.
Yeah.
But there's more.
Yeah, and I can go back, watch all this stuff and whatnot.
Only one spoiler. I'm going to give you one. Okay? So listen close. It's only going to happen. For instance, Danny Glover, Predator 2, was already like becoming canon that they go out and they face other species. So in that scene where Danny Glover is in the ship and you see the trophy room, the first thing, and I don't, if anyone's not seen it or have seen it, they'll say yes to this. The first thing you pointed at, the first thing you saw was that alien skull on his wall. Well, in this one, the only thing I know for sure, we all saw it, was that when we looked at
the trailer,
ID4, look, that's the ID4 alien. Where's tentacles? But either way, ID4, so it's like, is there a connection? Oh yeah, they already established it with the aliens so that they're out there hunting other species. They're finding the strongest one, and since the ID4 is more about conquering and then destroying the planet for its resources to go to the next planet, only made sense that they would be a strong prey to go after. Boom. Because he got that. I mean, when I saw that skull, I was like, oh, could it be a story? Well, I don't know. But the thing is, you expanded the universe when you mentioned aliens, right? Now you expanded it more by showing the ID4 head. Is it going to happen? I'm not going to say it will. But the possibility is open. That's all I can say, because every creature that they have on their trophy wall is another story waiting to happen. So that means more development, more character development as far as the Yautja is concerned, more interactions. That's the only one I'm going to give you as a spoiler. So when you watch it, and if you've never watched The Predator, watch this. I guarantee you will be hunting for every one that you can. But just remember, as far as I'm concerned, and maybe Sam will agree here as well, the only thing that's canon connected as far as Predator is concerned is 1, 2, Prey, and Prey 2, which is around the corner.
We literally just had this conversation the other day about certain things being canon and non-canon. So, yes, and then where I said like the whole comic book situation, like it's considered canon by most people, but it also is considered non-canon because it hasn't been, like, not everybody knows it. So unless it's like put into a movie in certain aspects, a lot of people don't consider it canon or consider it like a universal knowledge or whatever. Or if it's not been released, because remember we had the fight about the Star Trek scene. So it's like canon and non-canon, there's like a whole whatever. As long as the masses pretty much see it, it's considered canon. But then I want to fight on that too. So
which one do you think is the must-see of the whole trilogy to understand Badlands?
A must-see?
Yeah, like the whole trilogy for a newcomer to see Badlands. Which ones do they really have to see?
I think
I would say just the ones I just mentioned in a way.
I don't think you need to watch anything to watch Badlands. And this is someone who has been a fan and has read a lot of the comic books. I still haven't read all of them, but has read a lot of the storylines. I don't really think you need to watch or read anything to go into this. I think this is actually a really cool new slate for people who have never seen Predator or Alien or know of any of the universes, and gives them a glimpse into something that if you go back and start watching, which I want to do now, start looking to see like little context clues that might kind of like pick up on it. Be like, oh, this like you said before about the whole
Easter
them
eggs.
fighting people and whatnot. That wasn't the second movie that they discovered that they only go as fighting. Remember in the first movie when he was fighting all the people. I don't remember if it was the girl or the guy didn't have a weapon. He never attacked her.
No, because it's unsportsmanlike.
And that's when Schwarzenegger figured out, and then he dropped all his weapons and went straight fists. So there's a lot of lore stuff like that. So
didn't help him too much.
But yeah, I don't think you need to watch anything going into this. I think you can fully go into this and enjoy it, and then go backwards, and then go to appreciate the originals.
It's one of these features that you don't need to understand all of it from the beginning, because the same kind of story about the Yautja is explained in every of the films. You already know what the Yautja is. Now it's just a matter of this Yautja story. What is it about? And this one's got a lot of heart. I had to say a lot of heart. And you'll see for reasons, I don't want to spoil it in that respect.
Can I pet that dog?
Can I pet that dog?
Sorry, inside joke.
It's an inside joke. And with that, I'm going to leave you with that, and we'll come back and we'll explain some other stuff and some new other things that we've looked into with another, say, a minute or so. So back with more Nerdoricans.
Come, let's play. LDM Radio. Come, let's play. Fun is what we crave.
Let's go.
You're listening to New York City's LDM Radio. Another long stretch of continuous music. Back into time. Flashback. New York City's LDM Radio.
The best radio station in the world is right here, right now.
Ho ho ho! I'm Laloma, and yes, it's time for another winter wonderland. And that means that there's going to be arts and crafts, snacks, surprises, and best of all, Saint Nick himself, or as you guys know him, Santa Claus. He'll be here to take photos with you and your family. This event is going to be held on December 13th at the LDM Network studio. Although this is a free event, we still need your support. So please consider donating a minimum of $5. With every $5 contribution, we can bring smiles to a child's face this holiday season. So for more information or details on how to donate, you could go to my website, radiumsworld.com, or you could go to ldmnetwork.net. So we kindly ask you to donate today so we could create wonderful memories once more. So remember, December 13th, our 6th annual Winter Wonderland at the LDM Network studio. Hope to see you there.
And we're back. And during the break, we came up with something and was having a discussion. So we wanted to put it here so that you can hear it as well. So, what is canon? That's the subject of today, because you got comic books, television, as well as movies. And when it comes to a specific character, sometimes they bridge over, sometimes they don't, and sometimes there's like a watered. I don't want to say watered down. I want to say it's like for instance, we were talking about Star Trek, right? And Strange New Worlds. And though it's supposed to be the precursor to the adventures of Spock and McCoy from that point forward, but they
totally forgot Kirk.
They pretty much
know who he ships.
He dropped the ball. They dropped the ball on certain stuff that when we go to the original series, you go, wait, that happened there already, and you're saying this is the first time?
And he's talking as if he was the one who discovered this when I was the one who pointed it out to him.
Yeah, he did. So, she did. I'm not gonna lie.
For those who don't know what canon means or the idea of canon, it means story-wise something that is considered actually a part of the story. So it goes back, the actual definition of the world, to Arthur Conan Doyle, right? The creator of Sherlock Holmes. Mm-hmm. And after he had finished writing Sherlock, a couple people had written, I guess, other stuff or things that were connected to it, but they had to delineate what was really considered the storyline and what isn't. So anything written by Arthur Conan Doyle is considered canon. Anything not is not considered non-canon. So that's where that term comes from. So anything that is essentially created by the people involved, which is why I told Dad, my definition of canon in certain regards to certain things is, as if we're talking about Star Trek related, anything Gene might have had his hands in, I would consider canon, even if he didn't have it 100% in. He was still around to manipulate and do it. Strange New Worlds, love Strange New Worlds. Do I find it canon? There's some things that directly contradict what's going on in the original series, which sucks because it's like it should embellish it, but by doing what they did, it kind of like creates this weird dichotomy of like not like lining up. And then now that's canon, right? I view it more as fanon, right? So fanon is fan canon, where it's either like fanfics, fan created works, art manipulate, whatever, anything created by a fan. And for most part, there's a lot of fan canon that is known throughout. Okay, so for me, I'm more fandom oriented. So in fanon, Captain Kirk is considered someone who has extreme allergies. Right? Oh. There's been little things here, more so in the Kelvin timeline fanfics than in the original series because of how he was born. But for the most part, he's considered having like a crazy allergy. Has that been mentioned in the movies or shows? No. There's show stuff that kind of like allegorizes it, but not for the most part. So
the only thing that stayed the same is that he's horny, no matter from the Kelvin timeline.
I've had that fight with you already. I don't consider him a horny maverick like you do. I consider him a victim of assault. Remember, we had that conversation about one of the episodes, and I pointed out to you, and you were like, actually, you might be right.
Wait, which one is it? Just refresh my memory here.
So the weaponization of tears episode.
Oh, okay. That one, I'll have
to The episode with the lady who they moved faster than everybody else. She wanted him as a toy. Remember, he didn't want her. He only did it to distract her.
Well,
shall I continue?
That's 2 instances.
All right. Shall I continue?
In that sense,
the Orion slave girl? Come on now.
He didn't have anything.
Assault.
He didn't do anything with her.
In that sense, when I was
she never did anything with an Orion slave girl. Where does that come from?
Kelvin timeline.
It's on the timeline.
It's on the Kelvin timeline.
Oh, you mean Gala? Okay, first of all, yes. Kelvin Kirk, he's a whore. But wait.
He's a victim of assault.
Wait. Kirk, no, wait. Kirk, wait, shut up, both of you. Kirk from the original series? Yes. But Kirk from the Kelvin timeline, and I said the same thing too. I don't consider them the same Kirk because you have one Kirk raised with parents and had ideology, went to, the Federation on his own. This one didn't have a father figure, obviously didn't have a mother figure because his mother, she had married that dude and it's implied he was super abusive from that cutscene. Drew the fucking car off the cliff.
Now I gotta
move. He never really had a basis for a relationship, whereas the other Kirk did. He had his parents growing up to see that. No matter how good or not, he had that. In that movie, no. Dude was throwing it everywhere. He didn't, and that's a coping mechanism, by the way.
Both of them were throwing everybody.
No, he was not. First of all, original series Kirk did not hook up with every girl. Yo, I swear to God, he has not. There's only 2 episodes where he really hooked up with someone.
Now I know.
On his own whim, mind you.
Now I know when I was young, I was not a gigolo or a hoe. I was just assaulted.
Yeah, I was assaulted.
No, I'm telling you guys, I'm dead. And for the people who know, if you look at the series, there's only really 2. I think there's like 2 or 3 episodes where he actually hooks up with someone on his own whims. Everything else was either as a honeypot or to distract them from what was going on. Because they were already feeding him, so he said, fine.
Horde tendency.
No, it's not.
Used for the benefit of saving his crew.
Yeah, but that's not considered like actively going out there and like wanting that situation. You could put yourself in that situation but still not want it because you know it'll save somebody else.
I hope you know that's just a man excuse. That's just I didn't really want to do this. That's just a man's excuse. I'm just gonna let you know. That's just a man's excuse.
I will die on this hill that the original series Kirk is a victim of circumstance. Whereas the Kelvin timeline,
yeah, victim of the punani. That's what it sounds like.
The Kelvin timeline one, yes, I'll give you that.
The Cameloid in Undiscovered Country, was that saving his ship or saving his own ass, or a little bit of just having fun in between?
I haven't finished The Undiscovered Country. Remember, I just started watching it and stuff like that. So I have to finish that movie, so I can't comment on that. But original series, like I said, there's only like maybe 2 or 3 times where he actively was like, yeah. The one was the robot one. He really fell in love with her.
He fell in love with her to the point where Spock had to make him forget.
Literally.
I remember that, literally.
Because Spock loves him more than anybody else.
Her because he knew he could reprogram her to shut the hell up.
You guys are horrible. I wonder if she's fully functional like Tina.
Oh my God, knows multiple techniques.
My friend had just watched that episode and I had no clue about that episode. And I was like, what do you mean Data's fully functional? And he was like, girl.
He is fully functional.
Yeah.
And programmed with multiple techniques. You know, girl's dream come true. Same thing. It was a female Data. Same thing. You have me at multiple techniques.
I will die on that hill. And we will sit down. You know what? I'm going to sit down. I'm going to compile all my evidence, and I'm going to sit here and bring like a dossier to you on my evidence. On another episode, is Captain Kirk really a victim, or is he just a maverick?
Or better yet, is he a whore or he's a hero? Let's find out.
He a whore hero.
He a whore hero. There you go. There should be a medal for that one. It look like a penis with the Starfleet symbol in the middle.
I didn't really want to do this. So why you in the bed naked? I'm just waiting for you. That's why.
It's my duty as
if you go
captain.
Back,
it's my duty.
If you go back, right,
to save my crew.
If you go back and watch the original series, like I said, you will notice every time he hooks up with a woman, he never makes the first move.
Of course not.
Of course not.
Oh my God. Oh my God, you guys.
It's like laying the catnip and waiting for the cat to come.
No.
First move.
He never, I swear to God, I'm going to, like I said, you dead ass. I'm going to create a whole dossier and prove to you guys that he is a victim of assault.
And you'll be here to watch it.
It's better to
let
the lady think they the ones that did the first move. It's all a man thing.
No.
Okay, and specifically, remember that episode with the speed, the whatever, the people who move fast.
Yeah, we'll call it a speed.
That specific episode, if Kirk was a woman and going through that, you think that was acceptable? Exactly, okay?
I don't know.
It's a double standard. If Kirk was a woman going through all that stuff, no, I wouldn't say that. It would be assault, period.
Why else would they call it quickies in the first place?
I don't know. See?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm thinking.
It was 2 o'clock in the morning somewhere.
And then poof.
Tony, I'm bringing a dossier. I'm going to bring this giant book and I'm going to throw it on the table.
It's going to be like a scene from NCIS. Click, poof, click.
Oh, here we go.
Click.
Here we go. The next time on Rican, we're going to court.
You know what?
We're going to court.
And I'm bringing
the people versus James Tiberius Slut Kirk.
You're gonna have to bring your evidence. Your dad has to bring his evidence.
And it better be evidence. I don't want to because he's a man.
In fact, this is gonna be a crossover.
Evidence.
It's gonna be a crossover episode with Cold Court from the LDM Network.
Let's go. Let's go.
Let's do this.
Let's go. Y'all think I'm playing? This is not the first time I've had this argument, but I will bring facts and everything to this.
So, back to fandom versus canon. We know that even that's a good example because a lot of stuff that happened in the original series, while supposedly supposed to stay canon across. They did it from the movies and then dropping it over into the next generation. That specific episode with Tasha Yar and that fabulous outfit drugged in that same, infection that the original series suffered. And so they found the antidote to cure that. But that wonderful scene with Tasha Yar in that outfit and asking Data, said, "Are you fully functional?" And he said, "Yes, with multiple techniques." And all you just saw was pulled in through the door.
You know, people walking past that room were like,
"What?" Ooh. Or if it would have been me, it'd be like, "Ooh, ooh."
But yeah, Fannin.
I can see it now. They'll be on the bridge and they'll be like an office looking.
But yeah, canon versus fanon is such a cool concept to me because it's like fanon, especially too because it's fan created or fan embellished canon. So it's like things that fans have picked up from the stories or I've noticed that they maybe hinted at or even things that are in the background. They're like, hey, I wonder, they mentioned this one storyline, but they've never gone back to it, or they mentioned something here and never did anything about it. So let's go.
Let's
write a fan fiction about this and see where it comes into it.
The thing that works about both shows is that they're not episodic to a storyline that continues and continues. When you see the next episode, in the original series, they don't really show, like they'll show next week on Star Trek and then they give you highlights. Mm-hmm. But as far as Strange New Worlds, they already pull out a pattern in front of you from the very beginning, like last time, and then they give you a pattern of different episodes with what character. And then within that little space of 30 seconds, that story is either about Spock or it's about Erica or number one. Either way, it gives you an idea. So that way you know, because these things already happened, and so this episode is based on these things that happened in past episodes.
Even if you didn't know most of that, too, a lot of those standalones was good for that.
That was done, but see, that's and as from the filmmaker's point of view, you would, I know you know, is that they do that to establish what the show's going to be. Like the Incredible Hulk was the same way. Bill Bixby, it would show you last time, or in this episode, they give you highlights.
Yes and no, but anything created, I think, before like 1970 something, they never had syndication. So that's why a lot of those shows are episodic. They didn't have connecting. It was like the characters going through different things every episode because there was no way to keep it linear. And then I think after like 1970 something is when they got syndication rights and stuff like that. And like even the actors in Star Trek, they never got royalties for syndication because it was signed after the fact.
I deserve the
So like they never made a lot of money off of syndication, and that is one of the only shows that is still in syndication. So
in the documentary, he was, when the show ended, and he stated he was at his brother's farm, staying there, literally broke. He had got a $15 check from Desilu Productions, or they were the ones behind it, from Star Trek. That was his whatever syndicated check that he was getting. He was sitting in his truck, and he had a little black and white TV watching the Apollo mission. That's how broke he was. Right there. Pretty much starting life over. No, there's no Star Trek, there's none of that, and boom. And he's just watching it over a small black and white TV off his chest in his truck, outside in the yards of his brother's house. Holding on to the only money he really got from it right then and there, and it was $15. I mean, back then, $15 might go away. Because $15 here don't go nowhere.
But yeah, a lot of those shows pre that time are why they're built that way and stuff like that. But a lot of shows now, they don't have to be that way. Some choose because they like to honor like the old styles and stuff like that.
So another fandom versus canon. And you know what? Thinking about fandom versus canon, like with Predator and Aliens, there's fandom versus canon because a lot of them jump. You know what? We'll get back to you in a minute and give you the examples that we know about that jumps between that as well. So it kind of gets it confusing on what's canon and what's fandom, right? Be back with more Northern Ricans.
Hi, I am Charles Laloma, and I am the owner of the LDM Network, and I hope that you're enjoying this episode. But if you want to see past episodes of this show or any other of our shows, go to the ldmnetwork.net. We have large contents of different type of shows, and we even have podcasts. So again, check them out at ldmnetwork.net. So without further ado, let's get back to this.
Puerto Ricans.
Welcome back to Puerto Ricans. I am Spawn of Satan, and this is my dad. I am Satan. I am extremely tired right now too. So yeah, we were just talking about canon versus fanon, what is considered canon and not, and we were kind of going into the idea of like, what do we consider canon in Predator or Alien or any of those type of things. I have my own take on it. Because you said which of the movies that you consider canon?
Well, when I looked at the canon, I tried to look at the story. And I took a look at what interconnects the stories. I mean, you got about, what, 6 or 7 Predator films?
A lot, yeah.
With the exception, even though they started
Aliens?
Huh? No, just the Predator. I'm just Predators alone. And even if you do want to add Aliens versus Predator, that still spans a lot larger. But they're not consistent. You see, they're not consistent. Like 1, 2, consistency. As to even what you were saying as far as it being canon. Now, third led into, was it Aliens versus Predator, I think? And that was because of what happened in number 2 when they saw the alien skull and audience reacted, oh! That was enough that Dark Horse said, we need to get the rights. And then boom, a comic book was born. Gave a bit of a storyline of their ritual and what they did on Earth, like way back in the Mayan era. Because a lot of it, when they did Aliens versus Predator, was based off that comic book. Not all of it, but just some of it. And then they added their own, as I like to say, Hollywood touch to it. You know? So fast forward, you got different type of alien films. You have one where people are just dropping from the sky, but that's the hunt. I mean, they captured, what they considered to be worthy adversaries to hunt, and then dropped them on this planet with all sorts of weird animal. The animal that was attacking them, the dog thing.
They weren't just capturing anybody.
No, just not anybody.
It was people who already defeated a Yautja.
Yeah.
That they were capturing.
And that's what they were bringing, so that way they can now do the hunt on them.
No, I see. That's the thing we don't know. We don't really know what they were trying to do.
They were definitely going after them. That's for sure.
And not only that, we keep saying hunt.
Yes, he keeps using the word hunt, and which is why I said that I regulate what they do according to like how the 300 were. These Spartans. At a certain age, it is a rite of passage into adulthood, which is what it is. So the Yautja, what they do is you have to do a hunt, right, for a creature, but it's still a rite of passage. But now their other hunts or whatever, they're not always hunts. Like again, they're trying to find the strongest thing to battle and or face off against to prove their strength as a warrior, and then also prove that they could survive this.
But I understand why he says hunt too, because like you said, they out to pursue someone that's worthy.
Worthy.
That person doesn't know he's being pursued.
Yes. So true. So yeah, there is a hunt aspect to it. Yes.
There is one film that was not about the hunt. It was more of a capture and capture and recall technology. The last one that I remembered, which dealt with a child who had autism, but he was technologically like this everywhere. He knew it. And the Yautja that fell to the earth in pursuit of technology he brought the technology, but he was on the earth escaping other Yautja. That was the thing. And so then the kid ran into him, got their hands on both the targeting system or the blaster that he has and the helmet, which he was able to make it function. And his dad is a soldier. And then you got these other soldiers that are wounded soldiers. They're the ones who have suffered some form of PTSD in some way, but each had a special gift about them. One's a flyer, the other one's a demolition specialist, the other one is pretty much combat ready. Either way, in the midst of it, another predator show up, but this one was of definitely a higher order or higher clan, because he didn't possess the netting, the pretty much the armor. Blaster. This guy's armor was under his skin. It was under his skin. So as much as they were shooting him, the other one would get hurt and bleed. This one was like, that tickled, and that's it. So it's a different storyline altogether. It was a recovery, because at the end, when they're all set, when everything is all said and done, and they're both defeated, they had a device that was this small, floated, but like Iron Man, was a Predator armor. It just, when somebody got it, boom, it just opened up, boom, and the guy is wearing armor. So in essence, he was there to bring to the Earth people a defense against the Yautja, which they never touched on that movie again, because I guess either in the box office it didn't do so well. Because of all things, that's why it's not canon, because it's a different story altogether. They were trying to go in a different direction. That went south after that. I thought it was pretty decent, but still went south because you didn't hear about that particular one ever again. It's a separate story, so it's not canon. So for me, canon.
A movie or a comic?
No, movie. This was movie. This was a movie from the Predator. I'll show it to you later. So you had 1 and 2. So the one thing that connected to Prey was a flintlock gun between the two, because when Danny Glover defeated that Predator, the others showed up. And of course, they looked at him as your worthy adversary here. And they gave him the flintlock gun. Now, you go back all the way back to the 1700s when that happened. The one Predator there who then met with the tribe did the same thing. Showed them the gun. Didn't give it to them, just showed them this gun to let them understand. And then it just left it at that, where Prey 2 will take over from, which I'm so excited to see. So excited to see.
I got to expand on that because Predator 2, it shoots out to Prey. But don't forget about Predator versus Alien when the girl was involved. Mm-hmm. She was on the ship. She seen the museum as well. Mm-hmm. So that connected it as well to that. Mm-hmm. But it took a while. It took a couple of Predator movies, in between. So I understand, why you keep jumping from here to here.
Because it's not the same crew. It's not the same people. Same thing with Alien. It's not the same people for every movie. Mm-hmm. It's not. The only ones outside of the first 2 Alien films, because those are some of the best ones ever. Right. Outside of that, the newer ones, like Prometheus and Covenant, which was created by...
but that's the beginning. That's like a prequel, isn't it?
I know, but outside of anything else, those 2 are the most consistent storylines. Because 1 and 2 were done by the same crew, and then those 2 were also done by the same crew. There was supposed to be a third one, actually, but they never got to do it because they didn't feel like it was to be continued.
I'm half with you on that.
I didn't finish what I was saying, though.
No, continue. I'm half with you on this. I'm waiting to see what the next one you're going to come up with.
Well, no, that's why I said, when it comes to canon on both those things, the original creator of Alien didn't finish, I don't think, writing the script. It was someone else that came in or whatever. Same thing with Predator. So when it comes to those 2, the canon is a little bit more open to interpretation because the original creators are no longer involved. Right. So there's a lot of hands in the pot, a lot of changing of whatever. So that in that regard, I don't really consider that any of it canon. I consider it to just be a open source material, almost like fanfic world. Right. Anybody could put their hands in the pot, make whatever they want out of it, and consider it to be canon. True. But it's not an actual storyline that was created with a definitive continuation. Agreed. It was supposed to be just a one-shot movie that got really big, and then they just continued it. So Alien and Predator, as much as I love both, I give them that consideration. Again, Star Trek, Star Wars, and all those already established, done by the same person, all that. Yes, there's canon and non-canon, there's fanon and stuff like that. So there's a lot that goes into it.
What I was going to add, that's why I agreed half with it, but I was going to add the fact that Romulus, I think, is part of 1 and 2.
Romulus, technically, okay, so
technically 1 and 2.
I'll give Alien for when it does their timelines a little bit more cohesive versus the Predator because they're a little bit more all over the place. But with Alien, there's a little bit more. The people who write it are a little bit more trying to expand on the universe and to just create whatever they want and then add it to the universe, which is where Predator comes in. People were just creating it and then adding it to the universes. Whereas Alien, they look at what's there and they go, okay, how can we expand on what is available to us?
It looks like more like Alien is the movie and Predator is just the break off of it. That's what it seems like because Alien does more of a straight line and Predator is all in between them.
Well, Alien also has its issues too with certain things that has been established and whatnot. But it does have more, cohesion in it because I think Alien, I don't want to say it has more dedicated people involved with it, but I feel like the certain people when they worked on Predator, and again, this might be very controversial for me to say, people who worked on Predator were working on it just to make a buck and were like, okay, this is a thriller horror creature feature that we're doing that just so happens people like. Same thing when all the Halloween movies, all whatever, all done by different people, they're just made for a buck. Whereas Alien fans are genuine fans of the universe and want to see more, want to delve more into it, and want to give more backstory and shit like that.
It could be that's why the first and second Predator was all the same crews. The third one wasn't.
Back in those days, we like to say now, it's like when they reboot or redo a certain film, you go, couldn't you find something original? Because when you look at it, even in this turn of the century, in the first 10 years, when it comes even to horror and sci-fi, right? Move aside Star Trek, move aside Star Wars, Aliens and Predator. What is original? What came out that was new and original following? For me in horror, in the past, what, seven, is it 6 or 7 episodes? 6. I think they're talking about a 7th, but I don't know. Underworld was original. The war between vampires and Lycans. I mean, yeah, you would have your Wolfman, you would have your Dracula, or what is it, Fright Night films dealing with vampires. Okay. I mean, even when they redid it and they had it with Colin Farrell, I was like, okay, I was a little bit into it, but I still like the original.
So then when does Underworld go from being original to then becoming part of that systemic problem of it no longer being original?
When they change the story that doesn't involve like either Celine, well, they did do it. I'm mistaken. Rona Mitra, when she did, I think, the 3rd version, Rise of the Lycans. That's when it was different. But still had Lucian in that storyline because now it told you the beginnings and what the reason the war was about. About love. You killed this woman. And even though Victor didn't, like the idea, and whatever the abomination that was supposed to be growing inside of her, that still was the reason the war started between the two. It might have been diluted throughout the centuries. When they introduced Celine, this was supposed to be 600 years later after that incident. The war is still going on, even after the last film that happened. But it's been consistent in a way they tell it. Like the last one was about her daughter, the hybrid. So... and then at the end they see the hybrid walking towards the mother because she was keeping it a secret. When they licked, when they licked the blood to find out the blood memories, no, because she made it purposeful. And at the very end, when she did defeat those Lycans, new clan, new covenant was now created. And the very end, she's sitting there, and what she sees in the distance, her daughter walking towards her. And I'm like, oh, goosebumps! There's gonna be another film. Well, yes. We're going to still touch upon this ancient rivalry that they have on, but when they did it specifically in different ways and giving you different protagonists in there. So I goes, okay, because by the time Michael died, after that, it's like, okay, so there's the love that's gone, and then you still have the daughter, but then the next one featured a super Lycan that can grow 12 feet tall or whatever. That's someone to defeat. I'm
about to say something mad controversial. He's gonna not like me.
Go ahead.
When that happened, it felt to me like they were just trying to do another story. And they were running out of ideas.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why they throw a different twist with the Lycans.
When does it become a canon then?
So from and what I was saying too is like, going on that whatever, off of originality, or like what is an original idea? What is this, whatever. I would like to add to that. I don't think there is something called an original idea. I think what happens is that people see something or whatever, and they're like, oh, this is really cool, and then kind of create their own story off of that. So Underworld, originals take on vampires. Yes, great, cool. Is it an original story? No, it's Romeo and Juliet with vampires and werewolves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
You know what? I would agree with that. I would agree with that because
literally,
I was caught.
Romeo and Juliet.
I lost my interest
vampires
at the time when they did I think the 3rd or 4th one, whatever, and then her.
The third one died. The third one. Ready?
No.
Ready? The third one. Hamlet. I can go on.
Oh yeah.
I can go on these stories being whatever, and I don't want to say that everything goes back to Shakespeare, but like 90% of the time, everything always goes back to Shakespeare.
Yes, it does.
So like,
yes, it does.
Yes, I like original takes on certain things.
Half the stories, but like I said,
look at storylines. Basically, it always like a Romeo and Juliet type of thing. It's always a Frankenstein. I built this army of vampires, and or
it's religious. Like my friend almost wanted to kill me the other day because I said that I said Anakin Skywalker, Space Jesus, and he was like, "Excuse me," and I started breaking it down, and he was just like, "I'm not gonna entertain this," and he literally was so angry.
You see what you're missing? You see what you're missing? Space Jesus.
Literally, it is, and they've talked about this before. It's an allegory for that, but it a lot of those stories are just like people seeing it and changing it up. But I think the draw for people to continue watching Star Trek storylines, continue watching Star Wars, because it was funny. I was reading an article the other day. It was like, we need to stop writing stories on Kirk, Spock, and McCoy or whatever, and start focusing on the original series.
So many other people.
So the thing is that, okay, the original series is like the basis of it, right? So when they created the Next Generation, I'm sure a lot of people were like, well, it's not the original series crew. Why would I want to watch this when I want to know more about what they're going through, about what's happening there? Then Next Generation gets their fans. And so when the next series comes out, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, why would I want to watch these two when I'm a fan of this? Same thing, like each one gets their own thing, but I think the familiarity of a character, also like the connection, a lot of people like feel connected to these characters or feel like inspired by them or recognize themselves in them. So wanting to see these characters grow or change or die or go through that, like a lot of people are drawn to that familiarity in storytelling. So I think that's why those properties get popular the more and more that people delve into the backstories, they delve into the backgrounds. And I my indicator for a fandom, for not even just a healthy fandom, but for a fandom that has survived for so long is, you know, the how many fanfics are there? How many artists are still making properties for it? Yep. So like the big thing now too is that in fandom. There's also a whole debate on something else we'll go into another day. But yeah, like for me, how big is the fandom? How intricate? How is it still going on? And as much as, you know, Star Wars is very cool, and Star Trek and Sherlock Holmes are like two of the oldest fandoms around. Yeah. And if it wasn't for the Star Trek fandom, we would not even have certain things like that. So it's like, yeah, like that's how I view in those sense. But there's no really original stories. There's no like, you know, all that stuff. So
I was watching, my son was watching this thing, and I'm looking at it, and I started laughing when the theme came out. I started singing, "This is the fake Transformers." And he was like, "No, this is not Transformers." I said, "Think about it. It's a vehicle that changes into a robot. But the robot has dots like Lego. But they use a car like Digimon and all this other stuff." Right. I said, "Why do you think it's becoming popular? Because you don't notice, but it's such a similarity to the other ones that your brain automatically hits this cartoon."
Exactly.
I told him, why you continue watching it? Because it's good. I said, but if you notice, everything that stands for are the cartoons and the animes you already watched. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, that is true. Look at that suit." Like when he opened his eyes, he started saying, "Man, this is a ripoff." I said, "You see, when you opened your eyes, you realize it, but they grabbed you with and the storyline, of what you like already." Yeah. So that's what Underworld did. All it did was grab your little Romeo.
It gave you the elements that you wanted in certain aspects, and then turned it into.
Everybody loves. All guys love to be like Dracula or the werewolves and stuff like that. What they did, they just wanted to put these two together. They supposed to be opposites, but they loving each other.
Yeah, yeah. The two warring factions, and the two people from the opposite sides fall in love, and now there's a whole thing going on because the two factions don't want them together, and then they want to be together.
Yeah.
And then they die at the end, and
not always. You know? So some people do change their aspects in that regard, but yeah, like I can sit down and disseminate those storylines, and a lot of my friends like do not like it when I do that, because I'm like, if you want to go hard on these characters, I'm going to go hard in destroying your soul then. Because if we're going to go there, we're going to go there.
So, oh yeah, she does. But to top off on something that she had mentioned when it came to the Star Trek lore, and basically 2 years ago, I was volunteering for Trek Long Island. So at the time they had members from Discovery there because the show had just ended. And what was funny is I'm walking in and I'm hearing, you know, like the downplay about what they didn't like about this or whatever. So I decided to get up and I decided to say something myself about it. I said, you know, when you think about how long Star Trek has been about, and when you go the original series, right? That's one. You go to the Next Generation, that's two. You go to Deep Space Nine, that's three. And then you go to Voyager, Lost in Space, that's four. When you go to Enterprise, that's five. Discovery, and this will be, and we'll even include Strange New Worlds for that too. But when you look at these 7 iterations that came from the very original series and the storylines for each and every one of them, there's not a. I challenge anyone in this room to tell me that there's not a cast or that one person out of that cast they don't like. Thing is that they created characters in every one of them.
Challenge accepted.
One character in every one. I mean, there's got to be at least one character, whether you say it's Spock, your favorite one, or Kirk or Bones, and then you go over to the Next Generation and you say Frakes, as Riker, or you could say Data's. Data's got a lot of heart-covering stories, but that's another light, because the franchise is good is because each iteration had someone that somebody connected to. In one way or another, they connected with them, and
but nobody connected with Quark.
No, everybody connected with Quark, especially when the Dominion Wars was going on.
I love Quark so much.
But the thing too, when that's what Sam said about originality. If you watch all these 7, some of the stories are still the same.
Yeah, some of the and a lot of them too were storylines that were not done in the original series that they utilized for that.
But the characters, each one of them are unique to themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some that you could say there's similarities,
yes. but a lot of their characters, Star Trek and Star Wars. Sorry, Lou. Star Wars is not that good at creating characters that are different from each other. A lot of them do kind of are too similar in certain aspects, or don't feel like they have different, like they have different backgrounds, but like they're kind of cookie cutter molding of each other. Whereas with Star Trek, there's so much rich, diverse, and I think this also again goes. I think Gene would love this period too. Like that's what he wanted to with the acting and the characters. He wanted diversity. He wanted infinite combinations and infinite diversity. So like IDIC.
That's his formula.
So it works. Yeah, that was it. Infinite diversity and infinite combinations.
Yes.
So that's what they used to call the show originally. Like that was their nickname for it, and that's also the idealistics of Vulcans. But that's what he wanted. All these different characters' backstories, and I think also too, Star Trek is not afraid to go into the idea of it being like the Strange New Worlds, or just not the show, but the concept. These are aliens. These are not normal. You can't base certain aspects of these creatures or their backgrounds off of a human aspect. Yeah. Whereas in Star Wars, they're all given a human concept, which kind of takes away from the alien concept of it. Because you see that they're alien, but they act human. And you're like, most aliens, like, oh, my friend, when they first, Star Trek, remember the episode when Spock was serenading the Romulan captain as a distraction so they could get their hands on that? Again, I'm going to add that to my thing or whatever.
Okay.
The scene where they were doing the little hand thingy, my friend, first time I saw it, they were like, oh, so is this like the first like sex scene in Trek? And I was like, actually, you're right, because like that for them, the Vulcans, like that's inherently sexual and stuff like that. They didn't show our concept of sex, but it technically was a sex scene, and I was like, I never viewed it that way. So
I know I'm not sexing myself.
Masturbate.
Now that's going to be.
So if anyone sees you doing this, we know what you're doing.
That's this.
And somebody said that's
like
disgusting. Go home and do that with yourself.
This is our gang sign.
That's our gang sign. There we go.
Now instead of the middle finger, you be like, go
do
yourself.
There you go.
Puerto Ricans representing. But yeah, I never thought of it that way, and I think that's where Star Trek sees a little bit more in Star Wars. They're not afraid to make it alien. They're not afraid to do that and go there and give you characters that are so different from us, not only just biologically, mentally, and whatever, but that we can still connect with and still see something to empathize with, to sympathize, and have that understanding. Whereas in Star Wars, it's very hard to have that because they don't have that depth. Not all of them have that depth. I think only a few characters get that.
The difference is dystopian future where they're fighting against the rule, and a future where we're out exploring.
But that doesn't make me that. But that for me is not a plus or a negative on either side. Because I love dystopian stories, and Star Trek does have its technically, right now, Academy is about to be set in a dystopian future. This is post the Federation destruction.
Post-birth.
So now we're getting so that for me is not a plus or negative. So I like both aspects. It's just that one is better at creating characters and storylines that a lot of people can identify with, but then also view and get something different. Whereas with this one, it's always stuck in either the same crew of people, which is why, again, I don't care if it's the same crew of people, just give me cool storylines. But their growth as far as everybody else and the aliens around them, not so much.
So we've come again to another, bridge to the next episode of Nerdy Ricans. And with this one note, don't limit yourself. Go beyond who you are. Be proud of who you are. And live it right here. Okay? So until the next time, live long and
Welcome to the zone where geeks collide. comics and heroes come alive. Marvel, DC, Starfleet in the mix. Lightsabers flash, we're nerding out quick. Nerd